What's up, guys, and welcome in to a Texas preview edition of the Rally Time podcast.
Welcome.
I'm your host, as always, Justin Babin. Christian, my partner in crime throughout all of LSU baseball season, is producing the show once again. We're excited for a big matchup in Austin this weekend, a top 10 matchup for LSU, their toughest test of the season, and that is mainly what this whole show is about, is previewing this Texas team in this Texas series. We're going to spend 3 to 5 minutes breaking down the game from last night, LSU's midweek game against UNO, that they won 11-1 in 7 innings via the run rule. Jaden Newt had a really solid start for LSU. He gave UNO hitters a lot of trouble with his changeup, pitched 4 innings, gave up 1 earned run on 4 hits, 1 walk, and 5 strikeouts. And, I personally would be interested to see if Newt might get a chance eventually, maybe not this weekend, but a chance to eventually pitch in SEC play, because I think Newt's been really good this season. And, last night he was really good, only walking 1 through 4 innings, which, if you saw the show that was posted yesterday, they really kind of struggle with command over the weekend. But I really like what we saw out of Jaden Newt. Jared Jones crushed a solo home run in the first for his team-leading 8th homer of the season. LSU scored another run in the second off of a single by Chris Stanfield and 3 walks. There was a 2-run homer in the third by Cade Arambidi for his 2nd homer of the season after Jake Brown doubled to start that inning. So, LSU ended up scoring 4 runs in the 3rd inning, and then after that, Ethan Fry hit a 3-run bomb in the 5th for his 3rd homer of the season to extend the lead to 9-1 LSU. Another run was scored in the 6th. Derek Curio doubled. Jared Jones hit an RBI double in the 6th that sent Curio home after Curio doubled to start the inning. After Newt, we saw 1.2 scoreless innings from Jacob Myers and 1 1/3 scoreless innings from Cooper Williams. And then in the bottom of the 7th, Ethan Fry ended the game in the 7th via the run rule when he hit his 2nd home run of the night and 4th homer of the season, which I really like Fry. I think he was the star of the game with those 2 bombs last night, and he's been really solid at points during the season. But I mean, it was good to see those 2 homers by Fry, and then Jared Jones had 4 hits, including the solo shot in the first, a double, and 3 RBI. So LSU won that game 11-1 via the run rule in 7 innings of work. So just breezing through that game that LSU won, we're going to jump right into this preview of this Texas team who's really good. Monday, after the SEC opening weekend, where this weekend Texas, in their first SEC play ever, swept a good Mississippi State team. They won all 3 games for Mississippi State in Starkville, a Mississippi State team that was just sitting outside of the top 25. So really good weekend for Texas. They had a 17-game win streak until they lost a game last night in their midweek game. They lost 8-7 last night to UTSA in 12 innings. So I told Christian before the show, I don't really put much value in that because they had a 17-game win streak and they didn't really throw any of their star pitchers. So, they lost the game, but that's going to happen. I mean, Tennessee, arguably the best team in the country, that started 20-0, and they lost the game last night to East Tennessee State for their first loss of the season. So I don't really put much value in what happened last night with Texas losing to UTSA. But before we get into this Texas roster and kind of break all of this down, I did want to make a few notes on some awards that Derek Curio received Monday. He was named the SEC co-freshman of the week on Monday. After Sunday, so this is not counting the UNO game from last night, but after Sunday, Curio was leading the SEC in batting average at .451, and he was second in the league with a .578 on base percentage. So Derek Curio has just been a stud. We've talked about it all year, and it'll be you know, he had a good series last weekend against Missouri, and we talked about as a freshman adjusting to SEC play. Well, that really picks up this weekend against a Texas team that is much, much better than the Missouri team that LSU played this weekend. Jared Jones, one thing I wanted to say about him, he had a really good game last night. After last night, Jared Jones leads the SEC with 36 hits. So Jared Jones has been really good. He did oddly go 2 for 13 in the series against Missouri over the weekend. That was something I don't want to say I'm concerned about it, because I'm really not, because I mean, Jared Jones is the best hitter on the team. He's leading the team, leading the SEC in hits, leading the team in home runs, and I'm pretty sure he's leading the team in RBIs as well. So I'm not really concerned about Jones, but definitely as we get into this breakdown of this Texas team, this team will go as Jared Jones and Derek Curiel go, I think. Obviously there's a lot of depth on this team, but those are the two guys, 1-2 with Curiel and Jones at the top of the lineup, that to me are the unquestioned leaders at the plate for this team. Hope that Jones I think he will have a better weekend in Austin than he did the first weekend of SEC play against Missouri. But let's get into the breakdown of what this Texas team is looking like. So again, they're coming off a weekend where they swept Mississippi State in Starkville. That's always a hard thing to do. I mean, LSU started SEC play last year in Starkville by losing 2 out of 3 to Mississippi State, and then Texas starts this year in Starkville at SEC play and sweeps them. So that's pretty impressive.
Wait, did LSU? I thought they got swept last year. Did they?
I think they won the Saturday game. They lost 2 out of 3. I remember they won the Saturday game. But it's always impressive, especially, I mean, Starkville is one of the rowdiest environments in the whole country. So that was impressive to see. Got to see a little bit of them over the weekend. They are ranked number 8 in the new D1 baseball poll that came out Monday. I believe they're number 6 in the Perfect Game poll and number 5 in the Baseball America poll. So it's a top 10 matchup against the top 10 team in their territory. You know, LSU has not played a true road game yet this season. They played 4 games in Texas a few weeks ago, but all of those games are neutral site games in Arlington and Frisco. So it's a real test for LSU going to another team's campus for the first time this season for a top 10 matchup in the second weekend of SEC play. If you're LSU, you're 3-0 and they are 3-0. So one of these teams is gonna have to take their first 2 losses at least in SEC play this weekend. So it's definitely a big time matchup. As far as now, some of these stats we're bringing to you, I have some stats on Texas, and we'll kind of talk about each one of these guys from Texas as we go along. But after Sunday, so not counting the game from last night, because I took some of these stats Monday, but after Sunday, after the first weekend of SEC play, Texas was ranked 3rd in the conference in team ERA with a 3.06 team ERA, and they are 10th in the conference with a 300 team batting average. So what stands out to me most on paper and from what I've seen is this Texas team has a really good pitching staff. They have a bunch of guys that are really good, and it starts with their ace, lefty Jared Spencer is their ace. Jared Spencer spent a few seasons at Indiana State, transferred from Indiana State, is the ace now at Texas this season, and he's been really good. He has a 2-0 record with a 2.36 ERA and 26.2 innings with 10 walks and 36 strikeouts in 5 starts. So Spencer's been really good. I watched a little bit of his start last weekend in Mississippi State, and he's really impressive. You know, he throws 95 miles per hour on his fastball. He can get up to 98, and he has a really good slider and a solid changeup to go along with it. I saw the stat from D1 baseball that after non-conference play, heading into the first weekend of conference play, in his first 4 starts of the season, Jared Spencer had his slider had a 50% whiff rate in non-conference play, while his changeup had a 44% whiff rate. So he was really, really good in non-conference play. He did give up 5 earned runs on 8 hits and 7 Ks in 5 2/3 innings of work against Mississippi State. But Spencer, I mean, with that 95-mile-an-hour fastball to go along with that really good slider and changeup, is probably, I would argue, maybe the best pitcher LSU has faced so far this season. And I'm really interested in the matchup Friday night with Spencer going up against Cade Anderson, because they're 2 of the best pitchers in the SEC, and I think that's going to be a really good matchup. It'll be really good to see how the LSU lineup handles a guy like Spencer. They haven't really faced a guy who is as talented as Spencer yet. Getting into Spencer is not the only really good starter that Texas has. Also, their Saturday guy is left-hander Luke Harrison, who Harrison's really good. He has a 2.08 ERA in 21 2/3 innings with 24 strikeouts and 10 walks in 5 starts. Harrison only gave up 2 earned runs on 2 hits last week in 4 innings in a 7-inning game against Mississippi State. So, yeah, I mean, Harrison was really good last week. I really like Harrison as well. He has a nice low 90s fastball, so he doesn't throw as hard as Spencer does, but he has a really, really nasty breaking ball, does Luke Harrison. So, Harrison and Spencer have both been really, really good for Texas out of the gate. And I feel like that 1-2 combo is going to be a challenge for LSU and the lineup to deal with, and it's going to be something for them to kind of work around. I think one of the big things for me is I think it's kind of like last week where Missouri, the 3 starters that Missouri threw last week were all lefties, even though I would argue that obviously Harrison and Spencer are a lot better than the starters for Missouri. Harrison and Spencer have been really good so far this season. But I think what you'll kind of see is I think Michael Braswell is going to get a lot of time at third base like he did against Missouri because of the matchup facing 2 left-handed starters. I'd really like to see Tanner Reeves get some action in SEC play as well. But I think you got to go with the matchup as far as, Reeves bats left-handed, Braswell bats right-handed, and facing 2 lefties, I think you're going to see Braswell get the nod, at least on Friday and Saturday. And then I think also Ethan Fry, being a righty, is also going to get some time at DH as well this weekend, coming off a game where he had 2 homers last night against UNO, as we talked about earlier. The Sunday starter for Texas is Jason Flores, a right-hander. Flores can get it up to 95 with his fastball. Throws really good heat. He also has a nice slider and a curve to go along with that 95 miles an hour fastball. Flores has a 2-0 record with a 1.42 ERA in 12 2/3 innings with 9 Ks and 2 walks. And he pitched really well last week in 3 2/3 innings when he only gave up 1 run on 2 hits against a pretty solid Mississippi State lineup. So all of the starters, those 3 starters between Spencer, Harrison, and Flores present challenges to LSU. That coming into this week, that 3rd ranked in the SEC in terms of team ERA is a really good stat and shows you just through the first month and a month and a half, Texas's pitching staff has been really good. And they're going to pose a unique challenge that LSU hasn't seen so far this season. As you move into the bullpen for Texas, the best bullpen arm by far for Texas is righty Max Grubbs. He has been their best reliever. He has a Fastball between 88 and 90 miles per hour, and it isn't overwhelming, but he has a really good low 80 slider that he uses a lot. He uses that slider to get a lot of outs. Grubbs has been pretty dominant this season with a .98 ERA and 18 1/3 innings of work with 5 walks and 17 strikeouts. Grubbs actually has the 4th best ERA in the SEC after opening weekend. So Grubbs has been really good. Watching him last week a little bit against Mississippi State, he was really impressive, and he's going to pose a challenge. And then another guy out of the pen, righty, and Andre Duplantier II has a nice sidearm delivery. He's a sidearmer, so it's kind of unique how the ball comes out of his hand with that sidearm delivery. Pretty nice. Really he's got a really devastating curveball that he used really well in 3 innings of work last week in Game 1 against Mississippi State. Duplantier has a 1.64 ERA in 11 innings of work with 3 walks and 12 strikeouts, so Duplantier has been really good as well. Left-hander Dylan Volantis for Texas has a 2-0 record with a 1.65 ERA and 16 1/3 innings with 16 strikeouts and 3 walks. Low 90s fastball for Volantis. He is another guy on this Texas team who has a really nice curveball. Volantis has also made a few weekend starts for Texas as well, but over the past few weeks, Volantis has kind of settled in to good reliever spot for Texas. The last pitcher we'll talk about is Ruger Riojas, who pitched. Yeah,
Spell it.
Riojas, Riojas. I made sure
Ding, ding,
I
ding.
had that one. That one spelled out on the document. But Ruger Riojas is between 92 and 95 on his fastball, and he has a good slider. Riojas has a 4-1 record with a 3.91 ERA in 20 1/3 innings with 20 strikeouts and 5 walks. He had a really good game last night, even though Texas did lose last night. Riojas wasn't the reason why. Riojas pitched 4 innings last night and only gave up 1 earned run on 3 hits and 5 strikeouts. So Riojas is a really good arm. So what stands out to me on paper, and obviously when you look at this Texas team, is this pitching staff that really has 3 solid, really good arms, I would argue, especially Harrison and Spencer on the mound to start. And then they have 3 or 4 really solid relief pitchers as well. I think, the key for me when you're facing and this is just kind of how I've always kind of looked for in tough pitching matchups for LSU, is can you work the pitch count? Can you get a guy like Spencer and Harrison to throw like 50 pitches in 3 innings and, 50 plus pitches in 3 innings and really work the count? You don't want any like 10 pitch innings for these guys. You want to try to get them out of the game early as you can. So I'll be interested, to me, in how LSU works the pitch count, especially against those starters that Texas has that have been really good so far this season. Hitting wise, moving to the lineup for Texas, Arizona State transfer Ethan Mendoza leads Texas with a .406 batting average, 3 triples, 4 bombs, and 16 RBIs for Mendoza on the season. Been really good, also leads the Texas team with a .523 on base percentage. So Mendoza's been their best hitter in terms of average so far this season. Another good hitter is Max Ballou, Max Ballou was the Big 12 Player of the Year last season for Texas, and Texas's last season in the Big 12, Ballou was the Big 12 Player of the Year, and so far this season, he's continued that. He has a .338 batting average with 7 doubles, 4 home runs, and 14 RBIs. Ballou's been really good. He hit a 2-run bomb last weekend in Starkville in Game 1 of a 7-inning doubleheader on Sunday. That 2-run homer he hit last Sunday in Starkville gave Texas the lead late in the first game of a doubleheader Texas played Sunday because of rain and bad weather in Starkville on Saturday. So they played 2 7-inning games on Sunday, and Ballou gave his team the lead late with a 2-run bomb in the first game. And then Ballou also hit another bomb last night against UTSA. So Ballou, Big 12 Player of the Year last season, and he's kind of continued that this year. Another good hitter for this lineup for Texas is Rylan Galvan. Galvan has a .314 batting average with 3 doubles, 7 homers, and 19 RBIs. He leads the team in homers and RBIs, does Rylan Galvan. So Galvan's been really good. He's been hot with the bat lately. He had 2 home runs last weekend in Starkville, and he had another home run last night against UTSA. So Rylan Galvan right now is on fire. He's got, 3 home runs in the past 4 games for Texas. So he's a guy to really watch out for because he's been really locked in at the plate the past week for Texas. Casey Borba has a .289 batting average. Borba has 2 doubles, 1 triple, 3 homers, and 14 RBIs on the season. Although, oddly, Borba has less plate appearances, a lot less plate appearances than the other players we've talked about so far on the team. But Borba did play in all of the games last week, so I think as he's been one of the standout players from off the bench for Texas, he's gotten a lot more playing time lately, has Casey Borba. He played in all of the games in Starkville last weekend, seems to be getting a lot more playing time. Borba hit a 3-run bomb in the 8th inning last weekend on Friday in the first game against Mississippi State. That 3-run home run came in the 8th inning when it was a 5-5 tie game. So Borba gave Texas the 8-5 lead with a 3-run homer in the first game against Mississippi State, and that lead stuck to give Texas the 8-5 win in their first game of SEC play this season. So watch out for Borba. Adrian Rodriguez has a .308 average with 6 doubles, 4 home runs, and 11 RBIs. He had another homer last night against UTSA, so Rodriguez has been good. Kimball Schuessler has a .299 average with 8 doubles and 7 RBIs on the season for Kimball Schuessler. Jalen Flores has 3 long balls and 16 RBIs on the season. And lastly, Will Gasparino has 4 home runs with 17 RBIs on the season as well. So this Texas lineup is no slouch either, even though it's kind of odd when you look at the stats, like compared to other SEC teams. I was looking at some stats compared to LSU. This Texas offense has about 70 less runs on the season than LSU does. So they have a lot less runs. Now, they have played 2 less games. LSU has played 21 games, and Texas has played 19 games on the season. But it's odd because they have like 60 or 70 less runs scored on the season, and they have 7 less home runs hit than LSU does on the season. Texas has hit 29 long ones, whereas LSU has hit 36. So that's kind of odd. I think that shows kind of LSU has the edge, even though Texas has been really good at the plate lately, especially against Mississippi State. But when you compare the two offenses, LSU has the edge. But I think it really kind of speaks to how important it is for the LSU offense, where they haven't really faced that good of pitching yet. You know, this is their best pitching staff that they have faced so far, by far, all season. A lot better than you go from last week when you host the team who has the worst team ERA in the SEC to now the team who has a top 5 ERA in the SEC. So it's a big difference for LSU and for the lineup. But, you know, that's kind of the in-depth player by player. I have a few thoughts here, and then me and Christian are going to share a few thoughts on the weekend and some of our predictions. It's going to be key for LSU pitching, for the pitching staff, to throw a lot more strikes this weekend against a really good Texas lineup. Last week we talked about it. It wasn't bad for Missouri against Missouri, but I believe they struggled, especially Saturday and Sunday at times. LSU did. They walked, I believe, like 6 or 7 Saturday and then 6 or 7 more on Sunday. So they're going to need to do better in Austin for sure against a team that is gonna more liable to probably make you pay a lot more than Missouri's lineup, because Texas's lineup is just better. You know, pretty much all of the guys that we talked about in the lineup for Texas bat right-handed, so it'll be interesting to see righty on righty matchups, how Jay Johnson uses the bullpen and uses the bullpen for matchups against all of those righties. It'll be interesting to see if Jay gets anyone else some SEC action on the mound. I like Jade Newt a lot. I don't know if Jade Newt's going to pitch this weekend, because I'm like, I don't know if you want to throw him into a game, his first SEC action against, like, to me, I'd want a guy like Newt to start against, like last week against Missouri. Not start, but I mean, like, get bullpen outings against Missouri. I don't want to throw him, my perspective is I don't want to throw him in a top 10 matchup against a team when you're on the road, when you haven't been on the road so far this season. I wouldn't want to get him, so I don't know if Newt's going to pitch this weekend, but I would like to see him get some action eventually. Obviously going to have to rely on Zach Cowan and, you know, Case and Evans. Really need to see something good. Cade Anderson has been really great all season, but I think this is a really important matchup on Friday, because honestly, to me, I think it's going to take a little bit of time for LSU to get used to Jared Spencer, because they haven't seen an arm like him yet this season. I think eventually they can absolutely figure it out with how good LSU's lineup is, but I think it's really key for Cade Anderson to battle with Spencer and get not deep into the game, but to definitely minimize some damage and pitch at least 5-6 innings would be nice from Anderson. And then you want to rely on Case and Evans, Zach Cowan, and guys like that, Maverick Rizzi. Hitting wise, you know, my question is, how will this LSU lineup handle the best pitching staff that they faced by far so far this season? You know, with Harrison and Spencer, who've looked really good. And then when it gets to the bullpen, Max Grubbs and Andre Duplantier II have also been really solid this season, especially Grubbs with a 4th best ERA in the SEC. Like we said earlier, I think Michael Braswell and Ethan Fry will probably get a similar amounts of playing time this week as they did last weekend because of the lefty matchup. I look for Braswell and Fry to probably get some starts and get some playing time because of the lefties Texas has on the mound. Would love to see Tanner Reeves get in there eventually, maybe get some at-bats this weekend, depending on the matchup.
Do they have any
some righties?
Do they have any righty starters?
Jalen Flores. I get confused because one of their top hitters is Jason Flores, and
Right.
one of their
I did catch that during the show.
top pitchers.
So their Sunday
I think
guy's
it's
right-handed thrower.
Yes, it's Jason Flores. Their Sunday guy is a right-handed thrower. Excuse me. It's a little bit hard. I wanted to see if the pitcher was Jalen or Jason. It's Jason Flores as the pitcher. Jalen Flores is the hitter.
Okay.
But Flores is a righty, so maybe Tanner Reeves gets a shot Sunday. Like, maybe. I don't know for sure, but I like what I've seen out of Reeves, and I'd be interested to see if he gets some at-bats. But I think Friday and Saturday, they'll probably give the nod to Braswell because he has the experience and because of the matchup.
And he could, just like last week, there could be a short string this week for some of the players that have bad matchups. I would honestly look for Tanner Reeves to enter the game if there's a right-handed pitcher that comes in maybe early for one of the starters, or even late in the game if you need a pinch hitter and Braswell's up to the plate and he's 0 for 2, 0 for 3. I could definitely see Tanner Reeves getting a run there. So
that is the breakdown. But before we end the show, we're gonna do something different. We didn't do this last week, but we are going to give our predictions
Okay.
for the outcome of the weekend series and any extra thoughts we have to go along with those predictions. So, Christian, I ask you,
You want to go first?
who do you think will win the series this weekend?
I think Texas will, and here's why. I think going into the belly of the beast this early in the season, when you haven't been tested on the road, like you said earlier, I don't see how this LSU pitching staff necessarily holds up, and it's not because they don't have the quality. I think it's more so because they don't have the experience. Guys like, we haven't seen Gavin Gidger yet, right?
No, we have not.
But he would be valuable this week because he has experience on the road, even in Omaha, right? So I really think there's a lack of experience here on this LSU roster from a pitching standpoint. And I also am skeptical about the pitching because the starting pitching struggled a bit last week, and they were at home in the box, in their home, in the comfort of their bed, right? And they were having trouble to get it done. So I'm kind of expecting a 2-1 Series L this week. Until otherwise, hopefully they prove me wrong. I'm going to be rooting for the Tigers, obviously, but this just doesn't feel good right now. It made me a little bit uncomfortable last week. I know they have the win streak going for them, but the pitching definitely worries me for this weekend. But I will say this: I can see it going the other way, right? I think this LSU lineup is hot. I think it's a very good lineup. I think if you see Jones have a better week than he did last week against Missouri, I think LSU could win. I think they could literally just outscore this team. That's the other side of this is they might give up a lot of runs because of pitching, but they could also just absolutely blast this Texas starting rotation and their bullpen. So, but no, I think 2-1 Series L. I think they get the game on Friday if they do get one. I think they get the game on Friday because that's where I have the most trust in the starting rotation and Cade Anderson. So, yeah. What do you think?
I'm gonna go with the series win.
Okay.
I'm gonna go 2 out of 3. I don't think either team is going to sweep. I don't
agree.
see a sweep this weekend. I really don't. I could definitely see LSU dropping 2. I could. But I'm gonna go with LSU winning 2 out of 3 because I think they have the edge hitting wise.
Yeah.
I think they have the edge as far as having a lot more runs scored and a lot more bombs hit than Texas does. And I think the biggest thing for me is how does the pitching staff handle the baseball as far as can they throw strikes? Like, because some of them have, first weekend against Purdue Fort Wayne when they only walked 2 that whole weekend. But, last week wasn't that. They had 6 or 7 in both games, Saturday and Sunday. So, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say LSU wins 2 out of 3. I would not, if I was a betting man, would I bet that? No.
No.
Because I could see it going either way, but if you're going to drill me down on one, I'm going to roll with the Tigers, and I'm going to say LSU wins 2 out of 3. I'm going to say they win the game on Friday, and I'm going to say they win the game on Sunday. That's what I'm going to say.
Rubber
I'm
match
going to say
win.
Friday and Sunday is the games LSU is going to win. As far as game times, just want to give you guys the game times. Friday, LSU plays at 7 in Austin. Saturday, the game is at 6. And Sunday, the game is at 2. So 7, 6, and 2, Friday, Saturday, and
Before
Sunday.
we move on with your prediction, if they lose the series, how would you see that play out? How would they lose the series, for one? And for two, obviously you just gave us how they would win, but who do you think the key contributors are going to be if they were to manage to pull out the series win this weekend?
I think key contributors, I think we need a Cade Anderson shove day.
Okay.
I think we need a Cade Anderson shove day. I
Gotta
really
get the first
do.
one. I agree.
I think that start is really key. I would say Anderson and Ianson are the guys that I'm, most interested in seeing because, Ianson had that game 2 weeks ago with those 15 Ks, and then he kind of struggled a little bit against Missouri Saturday. So I'm interested to see. I would say on the mound you need Anderson, Casey Evans and Zach Cowan to carry the load.
Yeah.
I would say, if you're asking hitting-wise, I would say Jared Jones. If Jared Jones, like I said earlier, I'm not concerned about Jared Jones, but if Jared Jones goes 2 for 13 again against Texas, I just don't see LSU winning. I really don't. I think Jared Jones really needs to, and I think he will. I have all the confidence in the world in Jared Jones. I'm not worried at all about last weekend, but I would say him, and then I would say maybe Michael Braswell or Ethan Fry, one of those guys who is put in for the matchup. Jake Brown's also a guy, Derek Curiel, but I'd say Jones. I'd say he's your difference maker at the plate this weekend. I'd say as far as how can LSU, would I see a scenario? I could absolutely see a scenario where LSU drops to a 3, and it comes down to if they don't throw strikes. If they walk 6 or 7 in a game against Texas like they did against Missouri, they might probably lose that game.
Yeah.
Just because you're on the road and Texas gonna make you pay for those mistakes a lot more than Missouri was able to do last week.
Right.
I could see that, and I could see, I'm interested to see Friday how this lineup handles a guy like Jared Spencer, because Spencer's really good. And I'm really interested to see how the lineup handles him, because they haven't seen an arm like his all season. But I could easily see either way. And look, if we come in here, next week and LSU drops 2 out of 3, am I going to panic? No, I'm really not, because think about it. How many guys on this pitching staff have not played in the SEC before the season? I mean, hardly any of them. I mean, Casey Evans hasn't, Zach Cowan hasn't, Connor Ware, Maverick Rizzi, all of those guys.
All the freshmen.
All the freshmen. They haven't started in SEC play. They haven't played a true road game yet. And they're walking in to Austin on Friday night in a place that's obviously going to be packed because it's 2 blue bloods of college baseball and 2 top 10 teams, and a team who, before last night, Texas won 17 in a row, and LSU's on a 16-game win streak, so it's a huge series. So I could definitely see LSU dropping 2 out of 3. And, I wouldn't come in here worrying or panicked about it. I don't want it to happen, but I could definitely see it happening. But, to close out this show, I got a feeling that LSU fans' heart rates are going to be jumping.
Yeah, this is one
this weekend.
Right, this is one you want to get bad. I mean, this is Texas.
Yeah.
This is not, I would say this is one you probably want the most this season. That and the Tennessee game and the ULL game next week.
Yeah.
But those 3 games, series, whatever, Texas, ULL, and Tennessee, I think LSU fans, the ones that are locked in on the program, I think those are the 3 biggest series games this year. I mean, those are, I don't know, I really want LSU to win those 3 personally.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel. I know a lot of LSU fans, like you said, their heart rates are going to be through the roof, but this is one, and if they don't get it, again, I'm not worried either, because I think this team will come on late, better so than they are right now. I don't think this is their peak. I don't think anybody does.
Yeah.
I don't. But this is one you want very badly. They could get swept next weekend, but I would be happy if they took 2 out of 3 this weekend, simply because it's Texas.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, excited for this weekend. Definitely, be watching all the games, all of the action, and we're excited to bring this preview to you guys. I got something. Put your predictions in the comments.
Okay.
Give us your predictions. If you have a prediction, if you have a take for this weekend, put it in the comments. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and give us your predictions. Kind of a vibe check entering into this weekend. So we appreciate y'all watching the show. Appreciate y'all tuning in, and we hope y'all have a good one.